Okay, yep. So essentially, we've behind the scenes, we're calling it Women's Cycling Project, so WCP, and you'll see it pop up. Actually, funnily enough, I know that you have support from Zwift. So a lot of our riders that we acquire over the coming months will participate in the Zwift Academy. You will
Sweet.
see WCP in brackets next to their names. So those that want to look out and want to start following some of our early acquisitions, keep an eye out for WCP in brackets. We're really supportive of the Zwift Academy, and I'll come to that later on. But so about the team, essentially, what are we, or what are we wanting to become? First and foremost, we're looking to plug a hole in the domestic women's cycling. As far as what's the best way to put it? From probably a more performance level, offering the pathway for these athletes that is going to diminish over the next 3 months with so many teams folding. And we keep hearing about more teams folding. Unfortunately, we haven't heard the last. I know a lot through the background of what's going on, and that's what sort of inspired me to do what we're doing. So that's primarily the first goal, is to plug the hole for the athletes that are going to be left with nothing after having all the support this year. And when I say all the support, they've had enough support. Probably still not enough in my mind. A lot of athletes, particularly domestically, are still paying for flights and accommodation when they go to a National Road Series event. And it really makes it tough financially. As an athlete, a lot of them are working full-time or part-time and like really got nothing left. And most of them will be asking for money from mum and dad at home. Maybe they're asking for money from their employers to help back them as a private sponsorship type scenario. So we want to get rid of that whole circumstance, so that they can just focus on doing what they want to do, which is try and be the best they possibly can at the sport of cycling. We have, got some fairly close guidelines on who we're looking at. We're certainly not grassroots development at this stage. It won't be, because we really need to survive the talent that we've already got to inspire the next generation of talent. And I think that's probably where we're looking at it a bit differently to others. So we will be a pathway team. So our identity is domestic to international to world tour. That's what we want to do. So we want to offer a pathway for these athletes, and more than 50% of our team will be under the age of 21 years of age. So next year, our aim would be to have 3 riders in the at least. So 3 riders in the under 19 category, with 2 already fulfilled. So we've got that side of things well on the way. We have 4 riders that'll be over the age of 22, and the rest of the riders will be in the under 23 category. Our aim will be to start January 1 with a team of 8 riders minimum, plus our 3 under 19s, and with a continental license for our non-under 19 riders.
Okay. Wow. And I guess this all sort of came about because we've seen, a few, like you mentioned before, a few of the teams in Australian domestic cycling have had to close and fall away, and some of the big teams as well, ones like Inform, just to name one of the most prominent ones. But I think we saw Giant close its doors yesterday, or announced that yesterday as well, and you mentioned there's a few more on the way. So, like, I guess this is a response to those teams falling away, and those athletes have to have, they can't do it on their own, can they?
Well, essentially, it just increases the significance and importance of doing it. So it wasn't, my primary goal wasn't to try and fix all of these teams folding. Initially, what spurred it on was that I travelled to the Tour of Tropics with the Inform racing team, which I'm really privileged and grateful to be a part of, regardless of it folding at the end of the year. It's going to offer me exposure to the right key experiences, because I haven't been a director before. A lot of people that know me from my cycling career will know that I was sort of like the on-bike team manager, so in-race on-bike manager, and worked very closely with a great friend of mine, lifetime friend now, Andrew Christie Johnson, who heads up the Bridge Lane outfit for the men's NRS. So he would create a plan, Evidently, in those days, often we wouldn't race with a race radio, so communication between he and I was vital. And I would run things on the road, go back to the team car, discuss things if it was questionable with him, and then head back. So I've directed on bike, but my directing from the car has been pretty minimal. I've done a couple of races when I first retired with Andrew when he couldn't be in the car for his riders, and I would go to the races and do it. So 2 or 3 maybe. But I've basically done every other role in cycling. I've commentated, I've race directed, I've officiated. So I've still got things to learn about the managerial side. There's no doubt about that. But for what is required at this point to help the athletes, I think I'm really well experienced to do and deliver. And as I was saying, so the initial inspiration was from traveling with the riders, going and seeing them in first person, watching how much it means to them, watching the level, and also looking at it from an aspect of, okay, what can I contribute to elevate these riders' careers? And at this point, and certainly not in a step of arrogance, but in this point, I think that there's a lot. And a lot of the stuff that is required for these athletes isn't their preparation. It's not their performance level. It's all of the off-bike stuff. So the tactics, the reading a race, the understanding each other's qualities, the reasons behind a good culture, the reasons behind understanding that helping rider A can actually benefit me as rider B because it can change the race. And then once you learn about the characteristics of the riders on your team, you end up actually leveraging each other against each other. And so everyone does benefit. And so those are the key vitals that we want to assist the riders with. The other members that are in the background and still have anonymity that are helping me with this project bring similar qualities to the table, but have also been in managerial roles for decades. And that's where we work together as a triangle offense, I'm calling it, to assist these riders on multiple levels, whether it be here domestically, whether it be for our under-19 riders that will pursue a World Championships selection in 2023, whether it be our women's elite squad, which will pursue, we will definitely be targeting young rider categories across the globe in women's UCI racing. Our huge goal is to be on the start line at TDU. That would be massive. Having the ability to be at the first ever women's world tour race in Australia for one of our first races, it would be an emotional thing. I think it would be an emotional achievement as well, from where we started from a Twitter poll and essentially a pipe dream. And don't worry, we've had our people in the background trying to knock us down and stop us from, and trying to tell us all the negative stuff. We're not interested. We're not interested. And I think probably more significantly, we're not interested because we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for the athletes. And I'd love to see them with the numbers pinned on and those photos of them signing on at team's presentation on the first night. And then on from there, what comes next? Well, we certainly, as I said, we'll be targeting young rider classification at Tour Down Under. That would be a huge goal. The Aussie national road titles, obviously, in the under 23 category, I think we'll be really strong in, but also the elite, the riders that we are chatting to. And I think we can offer really good pathways for them as riders out of the under 23. I think we can still help them find pro contracts in the coming years. And also, depending on how far we go with this, Jedro, it's like, can we eventually be pro continental or world tour? Well, I don't see why it's not a possibility. And I think that what it will take is just the ability to prove to people that we have the structures, we have the pathways, and that after 12 months we review and see what we've been able to accomplish.
Well, the level in Australian women's cycling, Australian men's cycling as well, is super high. And we've seen that on the women's side with, some of the girls who dominated the Aussie scene and then got their pro contracts and went to Europe this year. I remember watching a lot of the girls who are doing very well, like Ruby, Georgia, Maeve, all those sort of riders, and you're thinking, okay, they're doing terrific in Australia, but how they're going to go in Europe, we really didn't know. And then straight
Yeah,
away, they're all at the front, every single one of them. And these girls are racing all the other girls who will be needing some sort of domestic pathway now. So that level is high. I mean, Ania Lowe
correct.
stepped into AG Next Generation, and she's at the front at the
Josie
bloody Tour de
Talbot.
France. That's right. Yeah, Josie as well. Like they're all at the front, not
Yeah,
just in the pack. They're competing. They have the level, and um, those girls are all fighting with there's quite a big sort of group of the top Australian women's cycling. So yeah, it's
and eh, yeah, and to talk more about Anya Lowe, because I think she's really the interesting one to talk about out of that group,
yeah.
because she's the least experienced via age, only age, not by her actual experience, because she's had some really incredible experiences through her career, and she's really been that rider that's kept knocking at the door, knocking at the door, knocking at the door, persistency, and she's sacrificed so much. So to get that opportunity, but it was a very late call up, and then she goes into the biggest women's race potentially of all time, because of its significance and its widespread coverage.
Yeah.
And anyone that thinks that she just cruised through that race has got nuts in their head, because she had to break herself nearly every day to keep making the time cuts, to keep
Mm,
surviving. And it just spoke volumes about her character. That
mm.
is the type of people we want to help.
Yeah,
We don't want to help
100%.
the people, don't want to help the people that, although we probably will find them come through our system. We're not really interested in helping the people that think that they're already good enough and great enough and got all the stuff. We want to help those people that really need the assistance to get
Mm,
there. Now,
mm.
you speak about how successful Australian women's cycling is at the moment, and you couldn't be more right. We're probably at our most significantly successful moment right now at the
Yeah.
top echelon. And this year we'll filter through close to probably the most we've filtered from a domestic level or a lower level into pro teams in one transitional season,
Mm,
which is great. My concern's probably next year, the year after, and the year
yes.
after. We need to ride the wave, and I think Luke Durbridge put it really, really well in an interview with
Oh, yeah.
SBS.
Mm,
They asked him about the development of Australian cycling and why are we so strong now? What's it just happened overnight? We all know it hasn't happened overnight, and as he alluded to in his interview, in 2009 you had Rowan Dennis, Michael Matthews, Luke Durbridge. Not far behind was Jai Hindley, Robert Power, Michael Storer,
yeah.
Robert Stannard. Now, we're talking over a decade ago,
Yeah.
and these are now the riders that are getting the baton passed down to them from the Simon Clarks and probably the Michael Matthews in the coming years. And those elder statesmen are passing the baton slowly down to them to carry the flag, and then it'll flow through. What we've really got in under 19 men's at the moment is an incredibly strong unit that'll go up to under
Mm,
23 next year, and that's going to flow on. Now we need to make sure we're doing the same in the women's.
mm.
Who have the women got to look up to? At the moment, they've got heaps of riders to look
Oh,
up to.
yeah.
But if our 17, 18, 16, and 15-year-olds sort of fall out of the sport, then in 10 years and 15 years' time, who's left?
Yeah.
And at the top of the game, we probably don't have anyone.
Mm,
So our 11, 12, and 13-year-olds that are currently racing and really ecstatic and love following, and their buy-in is bigger and better than any age group ever before.
mm,
Do they stop pursuing cycling because they don't have a role model? Or is their role model, rather than being an Amanda Spratt, rather than being a Grace Brown, rather than being a Georgie Baker, Maeve Plouffe,
mm.
does that role model then become a foreign rider? And then what we have is like 25, 30 years ago, where to get to Europe and race, whether it be male or female, was like, might as well have been like traveling to the moon for most people, because it's just
Yes.
impossible.
Yeah.
It really was. So do we go from being in our strongest position to our weakest position in a matter of years? It is very, very possible. And
Mm,
probably more than possible, it's very probable. And that's why we need to take action now.
mm. Do you think well, have you got the uptick that you thought you would initially with the
Oh, 100%. Like well and truly above the buy-in from people, and
yeah.
the support has been phenomenal. I mean, my inbox across all social medias, my email, my even on SMS, phone calls. Like my phone's got fumes coming out of it. It's never worked so hard. Um, the amount of the media contact has
Yeah,
been
memes been great.
fantastic, and I think it's 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 very, very humbling, because I think that it shows that the history I've had in the sport and how long that I've sort of been
Mm,
involved in the sport. A lot of people think I'm a lot older than I am, because I raced since I
yeah.
was 4 years old. Commentated since I've retired. I've been lucky to have involvement with coverage on SBS's podcasts, and
Mm,
also did back in the day did the Fox Sports cycling show with Scott McGorry,
cool.
and those things. So I've been able to stay in
Yeah,
the
in the
sport
game.
very evidently, and people have recognised that, I think,
Yeah.
but they also understand that this is really an important issue that we need to address. And I think maybe a little bit unexpectedly that it's me that's carrying the baton, that they'd expect that it might be someone else.
Yeah.
But we're 100% bought in. Like, we're
Yeah.
not here to fail.
Hmm.
And failure and success, what does that, what's that equal? Failure would be January 1, we don't get 10 girls to the start line.
Hmm.
That's failure. Success is that we complete our first year and we've given the pathway everything that we expected to do.
Mm.
So, do we worry about results? Oh, results are nice. I think results are good for athletes, actually, for
Yeah.
confidence. For us as a team and for us as a project, it would be more about giving the opportunity. So,
Mm.
during my cycling career, I always looked at making the most of every opportunity. But it's hard to make the most of no opportunity if it doesn't exist.
That's right.
So giving them the chance to succeed, and then you can sit down at the end of the year and talk to rider 1 through 10 and say, these were your opportunities. You took advantage of these. Unfortunately, something happened, maybe puncture, crash, poor form, got sick. Those are the opportunities you missed. For rider 5, that's why you're not going to go to the next level. But we've got you on for next year. Let's go
Yeah.
again. Let's see what we can improve on this year. And hopefully we've got some, a genuine percentage of our team that can step up to the next level. And in year 2, we develop the team, year 3, etc., and just
Yes.
keep a slow burn on making it viable, and also something that's able to be a project that people want to be a part of.
Mm.
We want to be in a position where riders are like, do you have a spot for next year? We want to be involved. Do you have a spot for us? And then, there will always be people that miss out. But while the project is something that's enticing for athletes, we'll get the best ones. We'll be able to create the pathways. The branding will become more significant, will become more recognized. And the pro teams will then be asking us, who you got coming through your system?
Yes. Yeah. Love it. I love it. Have you thought about because I think this idea is really cool. I love the crowdfunding aspect of it. It made me think of another setup that has a similar a similar model in that they've used a bit of crowdfunding to help their team. It's the Masaka Cycling Club. Have you heard of that? You know, the
No,
Ugandan.
no, no,
Ah,
I
well,
haven't.
yes. Well, Ross Burridge is the one that's created this setup, and he's helping a Ugandan setup race. They're using Zwift as their platform, trying to get their
Actually, I have seen this. Yes, I
yeah,
did.
yeah,
I did, and it was yeah. So they've been getting on Zwift and I did see. I think you shared this actually.
yeah.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
have. I've got an episode coming up with them soon. It's really cool, but
Okay, yeah,
they have people that subscribe or help
yeah,
fund their team. It's like $5 a month or something. They use that
yep,
money to buy trainers, to buy equipment to put their walls up. They've got a tiny shack. But I
yeah. I
thought
saw. I've
the videos are amazing. I'll have to send you a couple of clips that Ross has sent me of these athletes going nuts in their training studio in Uganda, in
yep.
crazy. But their crowdfunding aspect is like awesome. So it's like a monthly thing. Have you ever thought about making that a part of the team? Because I
Membership.
think, oh yeah, I think a lot of the people that have contributed to the crowdfunding GoFundMe, I think would be fine with giving $5, $6, $7 a month to this project. I mean, I would.
Yeah, Yeah, and it is something that we're definitely got in the pipeline.
Mm.
So in that regard, I think what needs to come first is a team name
Yeah.
and an actual. So at the moment, I think that probably the crowdfunding's been extraordinary. It has, and I think it will go to the next level once people know that it's a thing. I
Yeah.
think that a lot of people are skeptical about it, and that's why we haven't put a withdrawal component to our FundMe page yet. So all funds will return to all peoples that have donated on the 8th of December if the team isn't already continental and going ahead. So we haven't, that money sits there, it's not going anywhere. So you can donate free of will, knowing that your money won't go anywhere unless the team's on the start line Jan 1.
Mm.
And I think that's an important component because we're not here for a cash grab. And people
Yeah.
that know me well know that I'm not interested in that. We're
Yeah.
interested in creating something special here, and this is a great opportunity. So that's number one. And I think when people realise that side of it, they will donate as well. The other component, before we get to the membership side, is we're getting donations, as we've announced this week, from pro riders and also businesses around Australia to give to our donors as an enticement to donate. So essentially, it's also a thank you for those that have already donated, but it's also trying to drive more donations.
Yeah.
So Luke Plapp has donated an Ineos Australian Champions colours
Oh,
jersey, like exactly the same as he races in, signed by the entire Vuelta Ineos team. And
whoa.
let's be honest, it's a banging team that's at the start line.
Yeah.
So it's a great prize, and I want to thank all of the riders that are getting behind this project as well. The support has been fantastic. And I think they know better than anyone how important it is that there's continued domestic teams developing. And I think also going to Europe is the most important factor. But from the membership side, so yes, there's going to be some really exciting membership opportunities. So there'll
Wow.
be your general membership, so a support package. There'll be a jersey package that we do as well,
Oh,
and
cool.
then there'll actually be one-off buy-ins that people can pay to come in the team car for a day,
Oh, that's a
to
good
travel
one,
with
mate.
to travel with the team. So you could come and travel with the team and see an inside of what it's all about. You might want to feed the riders at a feed zone. These are opportunities that are going to be available. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be looking to develop that once we are able to announce our team sponsors
Hmm.
and announce my other fantastic partners that are involved in this. And partnership's probably not the word. They're probably more important than me. Once we announce them, people will be fairly excited about them being announced, I
Oh,
think. So that's going to be exciting. And the membership side, I think there's a real cause for that too. And a big part of this project is having the buy-in from the public. I really want, like, the people that are on Twitter and Facebook following cycling. They've never raced before, potentially. They love watching the Tour de France. I mean, the Tour de France is the draw card for your
oh yeah.
non-cyclist cycling fan. Um, we want them to follow our story and know that they contributed in year one, and in year 6 or 7, we've got a rider. It might not be at the team, or it might be at the team. We just don't know what the future holds. But riding in the Tour de Femmes or riding in the Giro de Donna and producing a stage victory or leading a jersey classification,
Mm,
and they can return back from 5 years ago. They donated their 10, their 15. Some people have donated huge amounts as well.
yeah.
Um, but they've been part of our process. They've been
Yeah.
part of why the story has gathered legs. It's been part of the process of why you're talking to me now.
Hmm.
Why we've had publications on Cycling News, why we've had publications on SBS Sport, why we've spoken to The Guardian, why we've spoken to the Herald Sun. These are huge. I can't believe that we've been contacted by so many arms of the media,
Mm,
um, and also from so many mums and dads, which are they're thanking us. We haven't even
mm.
started yet. They're thanking us just for having a go, just for
Yeah.
having a go. And I
Yeah.
think it's absolute bare minimum of what we should be doing.
Yeah.
And for someone that cycling has meant my entire life, it has, because I was racing at age 4. I know
Yeah.
no different. And it does. It means a lot to me.
Wow. That's it's awesome. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to I can't wait for the membership stuff to come out. I'm definitely getting all onto that as well. And if you haven't already donated, everyone that's watching or listening, I'll put it on YouTube and on the pod. I'll put the link to the GoFundMe on the page and all the stuff in the descriptions. You guys can have a look, have a read. It's got a great outline of what Pat's just explained then. And I'm just having a look at some of the donated. I see the cycling mold donated a nice amount too. Is that David
Yes.
Hunter?
Yep.
What a legend.
Yep.
I read his reviews
Yeah.
all the
So
time. He's a wizard.
yeah, and I endorse him. And anyone that wants, like, no joke, he just does
Yeah.
a brilliant preview.
Yeah.
And
No one's better.
you know, he nails it on the head. He knows the riders, and I've known him for a fair few years now and never met him. I've known
Yeah.
him only through the social
Yeah.
channels. I've got to say, I think he matches me, maybe even comes over the top of me as far as passion is concerned.
Yeah.
He's a really incredible gentleman. I can't believe the donation that he's
I
donated,
know.
but I've also spoken to him, and his words were this: "I want this to succeed." That is what he said. He said, "I've donated that sum because that's what it means to me for this to succeed." And I think
Mm.
that's everyone that's done that.
Yeah.
They want it
Yeah.
to succeed, and that's why they're getting behind it.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure that people know about the jersey that's up for grabs. So how that's going to work, just to quickly do it so people know, our first donor, their number is number 1. Our donor currently number 96 or so will be number 96. We'll do a random draw, which will be filmed. The number that comes out, that's who will win it. So that'll be their donor number.
Wow.
We have a target of how much funds we want to hit before we do draw it, because we think it's a valuable item.
Yeah.
So there's 2 ways it'll work. It'll either be once we hit the donations cap of the target that we're looking for, or the final day of the Vuelta a España. That's when it'll be drawn. So it'll, at least the latest possible time for it to be drawn will be the end of the Vuelta. The earliest will be as soon as we hit that target. So we expect that we'll flow in a fair few contributions once word gets out of this great prize, because some people are saying, well, geez, I'd pay $5,000 for that. That's an amazing prize. And it is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Australian champions jersey signed by the entire Ineos Vuelta squad. And who knows, if Richie Carapaz gets up there to win the Vuelta, might even be worth more.
Yeah, well, I know Plappy loves that Australian national jersey. He's so proud of it and so proud
Yeah.
to be wearing it and actually showing it off in the pro peloton. So it's not something he just gives away lightly. And it's really cool to see the support from the Aussies, you know, like Grace Brown, Hosking, Chloe Hosking, Amanda Spratt, Michael Hepburn's in there, Plappy's donated. Everyone's getting behind that knows
And in the
this is
background
awesome.
too, there's a lot of riders you won't see on that donation list that have made pledges in the background. So it's not, if you don't see a rider on that list, it doesn't mean they haven't contributed. And certainly, if you just have a look at the shares and the retweets as well, there's a huge channel of pro athletes that are giving back. And I think that's fantastic. I did have one other thing I wanted to say, because we're not only about creating the team, and I really appreciate your time for that, but
Yeah.
also about helping every individual rider in Australia develop the best they can. I know you're supported by Zwift, and it's going to sound like some form of plug, but Zwift Academy has just started. I'm
Yeah.
sure you're plugging it flat out.
Yeah.
It is genuinely the best opportunity for domestic cyclists that aren't already known across the globe to get themselves exposure to potentially a World Tour contract, but also access to some really high quality training programs that are developed by international level coaches. So I did mention you'll see a lot of our riders popping up in the Zwift Academy, and that's no question. But I also will say this: if Zwift Academy had been available when I was racing, even after I returned to Australia and gave up on an international professional career, I would have been getting involved. It is just an amazing pathway. So if you're a young rider, even if you're not eligible, take the chance to go through the process of what it goes through for the Zwift Academy, because it is a really clean and crisp process of what it takes to be as good as you can be. And who knows, it might get you winning your next club race. It might get you from a state level into a national level, or it might get you national level, international level. Have a look at Jay Vine. Have a look at Neve Bradbury. They've really, really grabbed it and ran with it. And these are the possibilities that are out there. No one knew who they were. Now everyone knows who they are.
Yeah, 100%, Pat. That's 100%. Everybody check it out. Super good process. Whether you want to be a professional, you just want to try and improve your general stats. It's awesome, and you can unlock some cool kit along the way as well. But Pat, so good, mate. It's so good to learn more about this. Share it as well, because I know that every one of the listeners will be, at least of my podcast, will be absolutely stoked and want to hear more as well, and more from the man who's driving it on the front wheel. So, yeah, it's really cool.
Fire me any questions socially on any of the social channels, and I'm happy. I'm an open book. We're not trying to hide anything. I'm happy to talk and happy to take creative criticism on board as well. We've been plenty of that. But yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm just really thankful for the support from everyone.
Yeah, sweet.